Well, we are getting breaking news out of Iran at the moment. Explosions have been heard in the capital, Tehran. At least 6 explosions have been heard. There were reports in US media that Israel is preparing to strike Iran. Israel has declared a state of emergency with a ban on gathering.
To participate in a National Security Council meeting Friday at 11 a.m. at the White House, according to his official schedule. The White House offered no other information about the meeting. And we'll see just how deeply Israel is able to damage the nuclear facilities. But this is only step one. Israel has already announced that they're going to continue these attacks. This is not a one-off. This is the largest attack on Iran since the Iran-Iraq War of 1990. And again, let's put it this way. I would be very, very surprised if there was no intelligence cooperation between Israel and the United States on this. This obviously did not come as a full-scale surprise to the United States. So we'll continue bringing you updates all evening long. And the fact that President Trump spent months, trying to get the Iranians to take a deal, and they would not, for hell or high water, take the deal, is why this is happening. That is why this is happening right now. Joining us on the line is maybe the most connected reporter and political analyst in Israel, Amit Segal. Of course, you can watch him on Channel 12 when you're in Israel, and I highly recommend his Telegram channel.
That's crazy that that Shapiro actually is live.
Yeah, so I see that you're broadcasting from a book-lined room. I assume that is, if not a mamad, close to a mamad, given the situation in Israel. I expect that the expectations are in Israel that there will be a barrage of incoming Iranian ordnance sometime this morning, I would assume.
Yes, actually, I think it should have happened already, but the Iranians are shocked. Israel just killed, give or take, 24 of its leadership, including the
what's up, everybody?
Officials and the nuclear scientists. But yes,
whoa, Quampa,
we do expect a harsh Iranian response. Last time, on October 1st, 2024, it was more than
Quampa
ballistic.
Quampa and Infinity in the house. What's up, guys? Thanks for stopping in. I'm just going to be watching some live streams. I'm just going to be watching some other live streams and kind of reacting to it. So, do you support Trump's mass deportations? Yes.
Over when to do this, there is virtual unanimity in Israel that this needed to be done. What do you think were the factors that led to Prime Minister Netanyahu finally pulling the trigger? Because obviously there were a lot of people advocating that he do this months and months and months ago, specifically after Israel cleared the skies above Iran.
Well, Israel's Netanyahu's raison d'etre was attacking Iran, preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons.
Situation, meaning that there is going to be...
I got Al Jazeera up. Yo, guess what up, guess? I read Byers' ruling. It has to be the most useless decision to issue a TRO. I agree.
Defense minister and also the...
It's horrible. It's a really bad ruling as far as I'm aware now. I'm no expert on that issue, but everything that I and people I talk to in respect say it's really bad. Here's CBS News.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm John Dickerson in New York. We're coming on the air with breaking news. Israel has just launched airstrikes into Iran. The Israeli defense minister is saying in a statement that they are, quote, preemptive strikes. The strikes come ahead of a 6th round of talks on Sunday between the U.S. and Iran. Yesterday, Iran threatened to target U.S. military bases in the region if conflict broke out, prompting the State Department to order non-emergency government officials to exit Iraq due to heightened regional tensions. The Pentagon has also authorized military family members to voluntarily leave locations throughout the Middle East. Let's bring in now Face the Nation moderator and chief foreign affairs correspondent for CBS, Margaret Brennan. Margaret, let's just start with the basic question. Why is Israel moving at this moment to do this?
We don't know why Israel chose this moment in time, but we know the Israeli prime minister has been pressing to take military action.
Margaret Brennan, I don't respect Margaret. I wish Fox News would just go live on YouTube during events like this. It's like, dude, Fox News, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't pay for cable anymore. Oh, here they put up a clip, though.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio's statement, the White House saying they are not part of tonight's military action. However, we do know that the president has been a steadfast, strong supporter, ally of Israel, and has stated many times he will continue to be.
Are you serious, Guess? Yeah, he said the admin can't act like King George. That's ridiculous.
Benjamin Netanyahu out of strikes on Iran, or do you want to keep a nuclear weapon out of the Iranians' hands so bad that you would just say, it's not our war, and let him do his thing? And President Trump's answer was a little bit longer than what I'm going to Cliff's note it as, but he said Iran just cannot be allowed to get a nuclear weapon. I'm just off the phone with some senior staff. President Trump, I'm told, is
in recent months,
Wing talking to
Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a...
You know what? I wanted to see Bibi's entire speech, actually. I wanted to see Netanyahu's. This must be it.
And actually, we're hearing a statement from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's listen to his statement from just moments ago.
Months ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted...
That's not the full one. This is probably the full
Moments
one.
ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years...
Who's the head of the IRGC? I don't know, Albert, because, by the way, thank you, Albert, for hanging out in the YouTube chat. I'm not 100% sure, Albert, who the head of the IRGC is, because Israel's, like, killed the head of the IRGC, like, several times.
Iran has produced enough...
So I don't know these Iranian names. I don't know. I'm here. I bet we can... Wall Street Journal reported on it. Yeah, here we go. Here, here's the Wall Street Journal report. I am signed in as lecture fan. Thank you. Whoa. Check this out. Israel said it struck dozens of targets across Iran, aiming to cripple Tehran's nuclear program, pushing the region toward a new conflict with uncertain consequences. Here's what to know. The operation would take as long as it... the head of the IRG was killed. Oh, here's the actual story. Okay. Hassan Salami. Literally, Salami is dead. Salami is dead. Oh my gosh. Salami is dead. He's literally Hassan Salami. Oh my goodness. Breaking. Israeli officials claim there's a very high chance the entire Iranian general staff and several Iranian nuclear scientists were killed in Israeli strikes tonight. The entire general staff? Dude, that's crazy that Israel literally just killed all of their top military commanders. That's truly stunning to think. If that's actually true, if Israel actually straight up killed all of the Iranian military... Sorry, hold on. Oh, so, all right. Here's a news update. Quick news update. Breaking news update. The spokesman of Iran's armed forces, General Shakarchi, said on state television that Israel and the United States will receive a forceful slap, and Iran's armed forces are prepared and would be retaliating in force soon with counterstrikes. He said a retaliation attack is definite, God willingly. What the heck? Wow. Wow. Okay, so check this out. Hassan Salami. Wow, that's who's dead. Look at this guy. How you can just kind of just looks evil. Out the conundrum the president is. Wait, what? Iranian Major General Hassan Salami, commander of Iran's Irgc, was killed in Israel's attack on the Islamic Republic. One of the more powerful leaders in Iran, Salami was a staunch opponent of Israel and the U.S. In March, he vowed swift retaliation against those who might attack Tehran. If a threat is carried out, we will respond in the most severe manner, decisive, crushing, and devastating. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see it, I guess, right? All right, let's check this clip. What's this? This is Wall Street Journal footage. Oh, this is Tehran. Explosions in Tehran. Very cool. Very cool. I am not a World War III supporter. Me neither. Me neither. I hope just like they're able to successfully like just take out their see latest updates. Israeli Health Ministry raises alert level to highest for hospitals. Israel's Ministry of Health says its Director General instructed all hospitals to raise their alert level to the highest possible, move to protected areas, descend to protected underground complexes. The ministry asked the public to avoid coming to hospitals in non-urgent cases. USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier leads military assets in the region. How cool does that picture look, dude? Oh my gosh, look at that. Let's go. That's what's floating out there. Let's flip and go. Look at that. What a cool picture. What a cool picture. The USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier strike group is operating in the Persian Gulf. The U.S. military didn't appear to surge ships or other military assets in the region that could bolster U.S. or Israel's defense ahead of Thursday's attack. There were likely no more than a handful of destroyers in the region. Yo, the cool kids. There it is. Yo, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Appreciate you stopping in. Senate Majority Leader John Thune backs Israeli strikes. Let's go. So do I. I back Israeli strikes, by the way, just to make that clear for anybody out there that doesn't understand where I stand. I 100% support Israeli strikes. I'm with John Thune on this one. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said in a statement he strongly supported Israel's attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. For too long, the mullahs in Iran have publicly aspired to wipe the only democracy in the Middle East off the face of the map via any means possible, funding and arming terror groups on Israel's borders, choking off international sea lanes, and multiple barrages of missiles and drones. Just today, Iran was found once again to be in violation of its nuke non-proliferation obligations, which is unacceptable. Thune added a warning: Iran should heavily consider the consequences before considering any action against Americans in the region. Yup. Trump to meet with national security officials tomorrow. Israeli attack might not stop Iran's nuclear work, former Trump official says. Israel's strike on Iran might disrupt its nuclear development, but might not deter Tehran from someday pushing toward acquiring a nuclear weapon. Questions remain if this unilateral action by Israel will sufficiently deter Iran's nuclear ambitions, how the regime in Tehran may respond, and how the U.S. and the Gulf states will seek to contain further conflict in the region. What is imminently clear is that economic and security conditions in the Middle East have become more volatile. Well, duh. Does Iran have nuclear weapons? Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, but it has enriched nuclear fuel to levels that put it within weeks of having enough material for a bomb. Still, Iran hasn't proved it can build a reliable nuclear device or miniaturize one to fit atop a ballistic missile. Even if Iran could do all that, it isn't clear that it could launch that missile to reach its intended target and detonate. Attack is largest on Iran since its war with Iraq. The scene of an explosion. Iran has suffered the largest attack on its homeland since the Iran-Iraq War of 1990. Wow. Eurasia Group analyst Gregory said in an interview, Iran has launched what is likely a maximalist strike. They are pushing all their buttons at once. Trump told Netanyahu on Monday not to attack Iran. Yeah, that's hopefully what everybody thinks. Before strikes, Israel Consul General said U.S.-Israel recognize a common threat. Hours before the strike on Iran, Israeli Consul General in New York, Ofer Akuna, said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal that Israel and the Trump administration agreed on the threat that Iran's nuclear ambitions pose. He cast tensions in the Middle East in a stark historical terms on par with the rise in Nazi Germany in the 30s. The Western world has to decide, do you want the Ayatollah or do you want Western civilization? True. We got a latest update. Just in. Israel attack on Iran was expected, but its timing wasn't. The timing of Israel's attack on Iran came as a surprise even to most close observers of the region who hadn't considered it likely until at least after the next round of U.S.-Iran talks slated for Sunday, which are now all but dead. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu raised the possibility of strikes in a phone conversation on Monday with Trump, who responded that he would like to see diplomacy run its course before turning to military options. Wow. Pretty smooth move by Trump. Iran has been attacked by rockets from Yemen for months, so it's not really preemptive. Yeah, true. You mean Israel has been attacked, but yes, absolutely. So Saturday is the largest protest. The LAPD will be useless. 500 Marines will be the only ones protecting property. Yeah, you know what's crazy, guess, is like the fact that they're going to be doing like all of these protests this weekend. Oh my gosh, my eyes. Something's hurting my eyes. Here, let me go back to some of these live streams.
In the coming hours that we will see a massive ballistic missile strike on Israel. Now, Israel will keep trying to get the job done. Prime Minister Netanyahu understands that. He understands that there may be a significant number of Israelis whose lives are lost tonight. But the reason I believe he did this is his judgment that an Iranian nuclear weapon risks millions of Israelis being murdered. Because if the Ayatollah acquires nuclear weapons, I think there's a very real possibility we could discover it through a detonation over the skies of Tel Aviv or New York or Los Angeles. And so Israel is acting to defend herself and to keep her citizens safe.
Now, you've mentioned several times there, Senator Cruz, what is absolutely true, which is that obviously we do have an enormous number of troops in this area. Iran has been threatening those troops. It would be the worst mistake they ever made. I mean, truly, the worst mistake they ever made would be touching American troops, because not only would they themselves, the Ayatollahs, be at severe risk of physical harm, but also the oil fields, which are the remaining asset of the Iranian regime, are wide open at this point. And that is that's the dog that's not biting yet. Israel so far has struck military targets. They've struck nuclear targets. They've struck nuclear scientists and military leaders, but they've not touched the final remaining domino in the Iranian economy and the only earning part of the Iranian economy, which is the oil fields. If the oil fields were to go up in flames, there's no way the regime could possibly survive that, given the current situation there. And so when you talk about the fact that the Iranians better not screw with the United States, I mean, that obviously is true. And again, I think that the way this worked out for the United States is actually quite salutary. I think this is quite wonderful for the United States. The Israelis went and did this on their own. The United States was not directly involved, not implicated in this attack. And that means that if the Iranians decide to try and take it out on the United States, that's on their head.
Yeah. Look, I think that's exactly right. I think there will be two consequences if Iran attacks America. I think, number one, you're right that their oil facilities will be taken out. That is devastating to the economy of Iran. But I think there's a very real possibility if they attack and murder U.S. servicemen and women, that the Ayatollah may not live through the night. And so the consequences of attacking Americans are massive. And in this case, and I want to say something else.
That's crazy. I wonder if Israel could have killed the Ayatollah as well. I really wonder if that was just like a judgment call that Israel made, is like, no, we're not going to kill the Ayatollah, but we're going to kill everybody else that's sort of like the head of the IRGC. We're going to kill all these other people. Guitar player, what's up? Let me read chat.
The Ayatollah, tonight, Israel took out the head of the IRGC. The IRGC is responsible for murdering over 600 U.S. servicemen and women. And so in a very real sense, Israel has struck back at a regime that has actively murdered Americans, that is the leading state sponsor of terrorism. And by the way, Iran's war of terror
Good point, Gus.
was financed by the over $100 billion that the Biden administration and Democrats flooded into Iran. And this is Israel reacting to defend themselves from the billions of dollars that Joe Biden and the Democrats allowed the Ayatollah to use to develop nuclear weapons.
You know, President Trump is the right president for this unique moment in time. And it takes a real level of moral clarity to understand the threat that Iran poses. It's something that he has been absolutely 100% clear on since the first day he ran for office, that the JCPOA put in place by President Obama was a disaster area. He was the president who pulled us out of the JCPOA, and he has maintained consistently, despite all of the supposed media coverage from right and left, that he had changed any position. He has never changed his position on the idea that Iran could never go nuclear and that their nuclear program had to be completely dismantled. And so the fact that he continued to convey that gave Israel, for sure, the breathing room to be able to go and do this attack on its own.
Well, Ben, as you know, I led a letter of 52 Republican senators that we all came together and we said, we agree with President Donald J. Trump. President Trump has said repeatedly, the red line is that Iran must have complete dismantlement of its enrichment capacity, that every centrifuge must be shut down. They must have no capacity to enrich uranium at all. Now, what President Trump said is you can either do
on Iranian
Let's check in on Al Jazeera.
Assassinations in Damascus, or, for example,
let's check in on Al Jazeera, shall we?
Iran. But today there is an act of war, a vast attack on several provinces, on vital institutions, on commanders, officials in the state. So probably this is not going to end in a good way. I mean, for now, we are waiting. Now I'm hearing also that Ali Shamkhani, who is an advisor to Iran's supreme leader, former secretary to Iran's National Security Council, was injured in this attack. So this gives you an indication how much high these personnel who were killed or injured, the commander of the Irgc, Ghulam Ali Rashid, the nuclear scientists, the one we mentioned, Fridun Abbasi, and others. So this is becoming a situation where it's really difficult to see it being contained very soon. We'll live with it for some time.
Dawson, I just want to bring you back in here from your coverage of.
Oh, this is interesting. Latest breaking news on the Wall Street Journal breaking news feed is Israel decided on Monday to attack Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and his defense minister Israel Katz decided on Monday that the attack would begin this Friday local time in coordination with the military chief of staff, Lieutenant General Ayol Zamir, according to an Israeli security official. Israel, yeah, so that's crazy that let's see, let's go back to.
We've seen the two attacks that Iran launched on Israel last year, one in April and one in October. We saw a preview.
Oh, cool. I think this must be live from Tehran right here. Is this actually live from Tehran? Is this is this live? Like, this building looks like it could collapse on these guys right now. I'm worried about these guys.
In the region. So they just put that on display a little bit in those attacks. I think now what we're expecting is the Iranians to overwhelm the air defense systems in Israel. And that is why we've had Israeli officials telling civilians to not leave their homes because they're expecting Iran to respond in this manner. That is one of the things we're expecting. I think we have to remember Iran has been under international sanctions for many, many years. Their military program, their missile program. So it's been very difficult for them to advance at the rate that they would have wanted to. But despite that, they've managed with the help of Russia and China to really go as far as they can. And they've spent a tremendous amount of money on their defensive capabilities.
This lady's good.
So I think we're going
Al
to
Jazeera,
see
baby.
Their response very, very soon. And it's most likely going to be in a coordinated, multi-faceted drone and missile attack on Israel. So they are capable of responding whether or not they will be able to sustain it
I pretty
for
much
a long
agree
period
with
of
most
time.
of what she's been
We'll
saying.
have to wait and see.
Okay, we will see what.
That was actually factual reporting right there. Sounds like to me.
Just to bring you to Washington, D.C. now, and let's bring in Alan Fisher, who can tell us what the US perspective has been in all of this. Alan, we've heard in the last couple of hours from the president, then we've heard from the Secretary of State, the US distancing themselves from having any.
All right, let's see. I still want to watch like the whole of that. What's NBC News is still live, but they're just doing global weather. Let's see. Let's do live now, Fox.
The Middle East, but the biggest news again with these attacks happening, this came as tensions reached new heights over Tehran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. So we do know that Israel said
no doubt, guess F-35, 1927 ethos. What's up?
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu we'll hear those.
Totally, guess. I 100% agree with everything you're saying, guess.
Israel's targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz and the country's ballistic missile system, as well as top nuclear scientists and other officials. And again, we've been hearing some of these reports according to the Associated Press. This report came in from Iranian state media, offering few details, though, about what happened to General Salami. He's the lead of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. He's feared dead at this moment. And so those reports coming in for Iranian state media that he is dead, we'll wait to confirm those again as we're going throughout this evening. But again, these updates are coming in minute by minute in this situation as it is very tense. But again, if you're just now joining us, you may not have seen this video footage as well that we have. I want to show you this vantage point that some of those cameras were able to capture in the region. This is the moment that some of those targeted attacks began near Tehran. And it's some of these cameras that are capturing the impact that it made, flashes of light there going across your screen. Just able to see what truly is happening there in the Middle East.
That's pretty wild.
All of this as well.
That's pretty crazy
in the
right there.
waking hours as the sun began to rise there in Tehran, also showing you a few vantage points that we've seen in response. There are several buildings there in the region that have suffered.
See, that's my big question, guess. That's the thing that that's been my main piece of analysis when I've been thinking about all this tonight is like, is this actually going to have the potential to actually topple the regime and take out the Iranian government? You know, that's the big question, I think. And whoa, look at this. If it actually has the ability to take out the mullahs and the ayatollahs, I think then it's no holds barred from them, and they'll like do anything and they'll do crazy stuff, and we'll see. I don't know, like, how big is the Iranian military actually? Now that's the big question is, like, what are their actual capabilities? That's the other thing.
Iran in the same way. So another update just coming in from the Associated Press. Israel strikes have now come days before a sixth round of talks were planned between Iran and the U.S. over Tehran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. It was supposed to happen Sunday in Oman. U.S. President Donald Trump and his new administration have been seeking a deal that would halt Iranian's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. It hasn't been immediately clear, though, how these strikes will affect plans for the talk. But again, U.S. Secretary of State saying that Israel acted unilaterally. We do want to, though, continue on, as we heard, as I was mentioning earlier, from the Israeli Prime Minister. He's been the face of so much of this international conflict.
They just posted that.
Benjamin Netanyahu, he spoke. He had brief remarks. Let's re-listen to those here.
Yeah, see, this is what everybody needs to listen to. Let's just watch the whole Netanyahu speech.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival. 80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazi regime. Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear Holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime.
Right, guess?
Right. As Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions. Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey. This is an intolerable threat. It too must be stopped. Iran is now working on what it calls the new plan to destroy Israel. You see, the old plan failed. Iran and its proxies tried to encircle Israel with a ring of fire and to attack us with the horrible attack of October 7th. But the people of Israel, the soldiers of Israel, rose like lions to defend our country. We crushed Hamas, we devastated Hezbollah, we hit Iranian proxies in Syria and Yemen. And when Iran directly attacked us twice last year, we struck back inside Iran itself. Yet in defending ourselves, we also defend others. We defend our Arab neighbors. They too have suffered from Iran's campaign of chaos and carnage. Our actions against Iran's proxy Hezbollah led to the establishment of a new government in Lebanon and the collapse of Assad's murderous regime in Syria. The peoples of those two countries now have a chance for a different future, a better future. So too do the brave people of Iran, and I have a message for them. Our fight is not with you. Our fight is with the brutal dictatorship that has oppressed you for 46 years. I believe that the day of your liberation is near. And when that happens...
Holy cow! Whoa, guys, this is actually huge. He's actually saying, no, we're actually calling for the overthrow of the Iranian government. He's literally saying your freedom is near. This is all-out war. Whoa, I didn't know that Netanyahu had actually said, no, we're taking out the government. The Iranian people are going to have a different government. That means that this is no holds barred. That's scary.
The great friendship between our two ancient peoples will flourish once again. I want to assure the civilized world.
Yo, Pro Laws in the house. What up, man? Good to see you. Leet Sauce. What up, Leet?
We will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. And Iran plans to give those weapons, nuclear weapons, to its...
Riding Fence, what's up? I don't see where me being shot in the skull wouldn't be a bonus. There's nothing up there. Wow.
terrorist proxies. That would make the nightmare of nuclear terrorism all too real. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan. It calls America the great Satan. And this is why for decades, it's led millions in the chants of death to Israel and death to America. Today, Israel is responding to those genocidal calls with action and with a call of our own. Long live Israel and long live America. Our action will help make the world a much safer place. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in confronting Iran's nuclear weapons program. He has made clear time and again that Iran cannot have a nuclear enrichment program. Today, it is clear that Iran is just buying for time. It refuses to agree to this basic requirement of peaceful nations. That is why we have no choice but to act, and act now. The hardest decision any leader has to make is to thwart a danger before it is fully materialized. Nearly a century ago, facing the Nazis, a generation of leaders failed to act in time. They were paralyzed by the horrors of World War I. They were determined to avoid war at all costs, and they got the worst war ever. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They closed their eyes and ears to all the warning signs. That failure to act resulted in World War II, the deadliest war in history. It claimed the lives of 60 million, including 6 million Jews, a third of my people. After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state vowed, never again. Well, never again is now. Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. When enemies vow to destroy you, believe them. When enemies build weapons of mass death, stop them. As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first. This is exactly what Israel has done today. We have risen like lions to defend ourselves. Over 3,000 years ago, Moses gave the people of Israel a message that has steeled their resolve ever since. Be strong and courageous, he said. Today, our strong and courageous soldiers and people stand together to defend ourselves against those who seek our destruction. And by defending ourselves, we defend many others, and we roll back a murderous tyranny. Generations from now, history will record that our generation stood its ground, acted in time, and secured our common future. May God bless Israel. May God bless the forces of civilization everywhere. Thank you.
Wow, what an absolute what a fantastic speech by Netanyahu. That's my reaction, guys. That's my reaction. Let's go live to Al Jazeera, or should we go live to Fox News? Live Fox now.
During any event like this, is how will Iran respond? Dr. Alon Burstein has been discussing this with us all evening. He's still here, alone as always. It's good to see you. Thanks for being generous with your time tonight. You and I were talking a little bit offline, and there's some information coming through about the potential of some sort of retaliation, and it might come soon. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, as always, Austin, nice to see you. So there's a couple of different reports that are coming in. In Israel, there are repeated blasts that are coming out that Israeli citizens should prepare for Iranian retaliation within the next 2 hours. Israel is preparing for the retaliation in the next 2 hours. In the past, we have seen that either through Israel's spy network or through other intelligence agencies, Israel has usually known when an Iranian attack is coming. The last time that the attack happened in November, Israel put out an announcement several hours before the attack from Iran saying Israelis should be prepared, something big may be happening. So very likely, that is why Israel is saying in the next 2 hours. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Iran is not going to go according to Israel's plan, but very likely we are going to see that retaliation soon. Something that is important also that the Israeli military, the IDF, just tweeted moments ago, it said that not a single anti-aircraft missile was fired at Israeli planes during their attacks thus far. Now, Iran certainly would not have stood by and tried to withstand Israel's attack. So that tells us something about Israel's intelligence, that it knew exactly where the air defenses were placed and how to bypass them. It also tells us something about Israel's previous attacks that we know all targeted the air defenses in Iran. But most importantly, what that tells us is up until now, we have seen the vast array of Israeli attacks against Iran, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But we have yet to actually see any Iranian response, not just in the lack of attacking Israel so far or attacking U.S. interests so far, not even in attempts to defend themselves against Israeli Air Force as they were carrying out those attacks. We haven't seen any Iranian response, which very likely means that we will see it in the coming hours. Iran, for its own internal political purposes, and I always say, look to the internal politics, its own internal political purposes, cannot afford to be hit so badly like it hit without having what to show in response that it still has its military capabilities. So we probably will see that developing in the coming hours.
Iran.
Wow, man, that guy's pretty good. That guy's pretty good. I was reading some of these articles on these Israeli websites, and dude, these are interesting. Israel launches preemptive strikes across Iran. U.S. We are not involved. That's how Haaretz or whatever. Times of Israel has some interesting stuff. Israel strike on Iran. How we got here, what we don't know, and what happens next. Hours before the strike, some insiders said they thought Israel could be rattling sabers. Trump had warned Israel not to attack, and his top envoy was due to resume diplomacy within days. Israel strike on Iran starting early Friday morning following a dizzying 24 hours in which the international community rebuked Iran for its nuke malfeasance. Iranian officials said they would retaliate by accelerating nuclearization, and signs piled up of a potentially imminent strike, along with warnings that Israel could be simply rattling sabers at a pivotal moment. In the hours before the attack, experts in the region said they thought Israel's aggressive posture, which prompted the United States to begin moving some personnel out of the Middle East, could have been meant to extract concessions from Iran in its nuclear talks with the Trump administration. They noted that while tensions are rising between Iran and the West over Iran's failure to abide by past nuclear agreements, no one has yet taken concrete measures against Iran. But the situation was fluid enough to worry longtime observers of the region. The threat of military pressure can take on a life of its own. We can argue that the Israeli kinetic threat to attack Iran could be pressuring the sides to come to an agreement that Israel favors, which would be the total dismantling of Iran's nuclear program. The problem with such pressure is that Israel can't control the outcomes. I would advise Israel to sit aside, let the U.S. try to take their time in terms of trying to reach an agreement. She switched to Hebrew to cite a rabbinic saying, "The work of the righteous is done by others." Huh, that's kind of interesting. Trump on Thursday said talks with Iran to forge a deal on its nuke capabilities were still ongoing. His top envoy negotiating, Steve Witkoff, was due in Oman early next week to continue talks with Iran. We remain committed to a diplomatic resolution, Trump said on Truth Social on Thursday. He'd said the same thing earlier, and I'd love to avoid the conflict. Iran's going to have to negotiate a little bit tougher, meaning they're going to have to give us some of the things they're not willing to give us right now. Witkoff is seeking a deal that would allow Iran and other countries access to uranium enriched to non-weaponization levels at an offshore facility. Iran is insisting that such a facility be in Iran. Trump's oft-stated lack of enthusiasm for military action appeared to put a cramp on Israeli plans to strike Iran. Israel, by most estimation, needs U.S. backup to carry out a deeply effective strike. But Israel has increasingly been seeking to show that it can act alone, and Israeli officials have told their U.S. counterparts that Israel is ready to strike. Asked about the imminence of an Israeli strike, Trump said, "I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like it's something that could very well happen." That's crazy. Trump was like, yeah, it looks like it's definitely something that could happen. All right, sorry, let me read chat, guys. Sorry, I'm way behind on chat. Let me read chat. Hassan is having a meltdown. Oh, gosh, I'm sure it is. Neuter or neutered, both 1927, looking like F around, find out. Yup. Trump allowed Israel to act. We are now safer. Oh, for sure, guess. That's what I think. I think Trump and Israel are acting in concert. Like, this is all public. Like, Trump saying, I want to negotiate. It's like, no, Trump, like, dude, the U.S. supported this attack. No question in my mind. No, I don't want any war, Leet Sauce. What a stupid question. How dumb are you, Leet Sauce? Do you want war? Do you want to die in a war? How stupid are you? Do you want to die in a war? Who's going to say yes to that, you idiot? Some people, man. What time is it over there? It's like 10 a.m., I think. Here, I'll tell you. Time in Tel Aviv. Oh, shit, it's only 6 a.m. Wow, it's only 6 a.m. Okay, so it's like morning. It's like people are waking up right now. It's 6:19 a.m. It's 6:19 a.m. in Tel Aviv right now. So people are like just waking up in Israel.
Much interest in what the United States or the British or the French or the Germans have to say at the moment. I think Iran will want to respond to Israel's strike, and it will take some time both to see what Israel's strike has actually succeeded in destroying, how Iran will respond. I think it'll be months before we can even imagine that we could then
an eye on that.
What I like about Agenda Free TV, if you guys don't know Agenda Free, what I like about him is he actually just shows live streams. Like, he gets these live streams up. Like, look, he's got Haifa, Israel live. He's got Tel Aviv Skyline live. And then he's got Jerusalem live. Like, Agenda Free TV is freaking pretty good. All right, sorry, guys. I'm so far behind the chat. We'll just leave this up here. While I read chat out loud and then respond to you guys. Iran cannot defeat the Iron Dome. I don't think so either. They would need tens of thousands of missiles to do it. They do not have the capability. I agree. I guess they did a cyber attack on their air defenses, or they had troops inside Iran that were engaging in sabotage. Oh, that's a good point, Guess. That's a good point. I never thought of that. Great point. There's been rumors Iran has more capabilities than some think. Israel must have intel on what Iran's true capabilities are. Well, that's what I was... Yeah, a great point, Prola. I was talking about that very issue earlier, Prola. I was saying, like, one of the major unknowns right now is Iran's capabilities, right? Like, that's one of the main things we don't know about right now is Iran's capabilities. That's a great point. And you're right, Israel probably does have... I mean, of course... Dude, Israel's intelligence is... Dude, look at the pager attack. Go back to the pager attack, man. Go look at the freaking pager attack. Don't tell me Israel's intelligence isn't like top of the line. Trump did leave the congressional picnic early tonight without notice, and there was no reason given. Is that right, Guess? Is that right? I'm sure it was to go freaking get updated on this. I guarantee you that. The withdrawal from the Iraq embassy was a hint. Oh, it was obvious, 1927 ethos, I thought. I mean, I've been anticipating, I've been sort of thinking this is going to happen at any point. And then, like, yeah, the U.S. withdrawing personnel and stuff from the Middle East, like, duh. Hydra, what's up, Hydra? If I go to war and take out an Islamic terrorist before he can do anything, do I get his virgins in paradise? No, that's definitely not how it works. That's a good one, though, Kappa. He pays for them, too, follows copyright law. Wow, yeah, good for him. Yeah, good for him. Well, I'm assuming, I wonder where he gets them. Like, you can do things like, here, let me do something. Okay, let me do something. Let's see. Webcams in Israel. Western Wall Cam. Wait, what? Is this live? Oh, yeah. There's no possible, dude, there's no possible way that this is, so let me do this. All right, so we've got the Western Wall Cam up live. Tel Aviv. Let's do a beach view in Tel Aviv. There's no way these things are copyrighted. These are public webcams. Now his are higher quality, but like, okay, let me try something. Look. This one's not very good. This one's better. Oh, dude, this one's really good. Shit. Let's try Jerusalem. Man, actually, this is kind of a pain in this. This actually is kind of a pain in the butt to find. Actually, maybe these are copyrighted. What the heck? Wow, dude. This is the only decent one that I found, is this one. But it's not very good. Man, Agenda TV, that's impressive what he's got up.
Said could produce a weapon in months or at most a year.
These are
Tehran
really good
has
webcams.
threatened to respond to an Israeli attack with counterstrikes targeting both Israeli as well as U.S. forces and...
Holy cow, dude. He's got 75,000 right now. Agenda's got 75,000. Good for him.
The IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame.
What's up, JPS?
We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world.
Right, Hydra?
This
Thank
operation is for our right to exist here, for our future, and for our children's future. The State of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people and will continue to do so. The IDF conducted significant preparations for this operation. We are well prepared both in defense and offense to defend ourselves. The IDF will continue to defend the State of Israel.
Efrin, spokesperson there for the IDF, and from the start of these attacks, Israel was adamant that these were unilateral attacks. Well, earlier I spoke to Simone Ledeen, former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, and I asked her what she made of a possible American involvement in these attacks.
Let's see what she says.
I think it's clear that there has been coordination with the United States. I
agree.
note that Secretary of State Marco Rubio issued a statement recently saying the United States had nothing to do with this. I don't think the Iranian regime will see it that way.
Right.
We need to watch and see what the reaction is going to be in the hours and days and even weeks ahead. But yes, not a surprise, and especially when you consider some of the news now coming out of Israel, where Israeli media is reporting that Iran actually has all of the components to produce nuclear weapons, and indeed we're starting to assemble those components. And that, of course, is a red line that everyone, Israel, the United States, and others have said.
Just 3 minutes ago, there was breaking news. Let's see if WSJ has it. Iranian Major General Hassan Salami, commander of the Irgc, was killed in Israel's attack on the Islamic Republic. The attack also targeted scientists. Israel military, Iran. So New York Times. Actually, let me see, because I just got a breaking news update from one of my friends. Yeah, look at this one. Oh, man, I kind of want to should I pay for the New York Times? All right, chat. Here, question in chat. Don't answer in chat yet. 1 in chat if I should pay for the New York Times. 2 in chat if I should not pay for the New York Times. 1 in chat if I should buy the New York Times and pay for the New York Times. 2 in the chat if I should not buy the New York Times. Because right now all I have is Wall Street Journal. Get it for free. How do you get New York Times for free? Without having to create an account or whatever. In addition to SNL, Seinfeld stuff, he writes a bunch of kids' playbooks. I assume he's a liberal. I thought he hides it well enough. I don't know, so many in here were banned over there. Yeah, I didn't either. That was crazy. I was like, everybody was saying they're banned. I was like, what? How do you get New York Times for free? This is pretty interesting. Will the UN nation snap back sanctions? This article is like talking about like. So it looks like war, and if so, involving whom? Not quite yet. No one has referred the IAEA censor to the Social Security Council, so sanction snapbacks are not on the table. Trump has set multiple deadlines for a deal. They've come and gone without consequence. Dude, this article seems like completely... The Times of Israel, Israel at war, day 616. IAF launches major strike on Iran and its nuclear program. PM, a decisive point in our history. Iran state media says Irgc chief killed. Netanyahu. His operation will continue as long as needed. If we don't act now, there won't be another generation. What I cannot believe is actually listening to Netanyahu's speech. If you actually listen to the full 8-minute speech of Netanyahu, there's no question that this is to topple the Iranian regime. The goal is to topple the Iranian regime. That's what this is about, which means it is no holds barred.
Secretary Rubio, denying. And I'm sure it's true. We haven't played a role. Our jets are not doing this, but it doesn't really matter when you're the Iranian regime, because there's in their belief system and what they've advertised for many, many years, Israel is the little Satan and the United States is the great Satan. And so what one does, the other is also associated.
This lady's actually good.
I don't believe at this time that it's useful to try to distinguish this. This is an Israeli action, not an American action. I believe that right now it's more important to look to the future and to see what is going to happen from this. And I do believe that we are all going to be facing a response in the hours and days and.
Oil prices jump. Benchmark U.S. crude futures rose by more than 10% to trade above $75 a barrel, the highest price since January and before Trump's April tariff announcements. The highest price since January. Optimism over an Iran nuke deal and the prospect of eased sanctions on the country's oil exports added pressure to prices earlier this spring. Now traders are showing they don't see much chance the U.S. will lift restrictions on Iranian barrels anytime soon, and there might be additional disruptions to the region's oil output. Israeli military leader calls up tens of thousands of soldiers. Israeli military chief of staff Eyal Zamir said tens of thousands of soldiers have been called up to protect the country's borders and that the Iranian regime will attempt to retaliate. He warned Israeli citizens that the expected toll will be different from what the country is used to. I can't promise absolute success, he said. Holy crap, dude. That's scary, man. Are you kidding me? The Israeli military chief of staff just told the Israeli military, I cannot promise absolute success, and is calling up tens of thousands of troops to guard the actual borders of the country. That's scary. Don't you guys think? IAEA says Natanz is among Iranian sites that were hit. The Natanz nuclear site is among those targeted by Israel in Iran. Chief of IAEA, Grossi, said the agency is in touch with Iranian authorities about radiation levels and is in contact with local inspectors. The IAEA is closely monitoring the deeply concerning situation in Iran. We've got they hit the nuclear. We're concerned about radiation now. That's not good, guys. We are now concerned about nuclear radiation. That is not good. Another update. Iran's supreme leader vows to retaliate against Israel. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said Israel should expect severe punishment for the attacks, which he said struck residential centers and killed several commanders and scientists. Residential centers? Yeah, residential centers where terrorists were living. Duh. Yeah, when it's a residential center and it's the leader of your nuclear weapons program, it's a totally legitimate target. Holy cow, man. These Wall Street Journal updates are coming in fast and furious, man. I can't believe this. This is not good, bro. This is not good. Oh, okay. Oh, shoot. Oh, I should not have. Oh, man. All right, let me go back to Forbes breaking news really quick. We'll turn this audio.
A rogue regime that seeks to destruct the state of Israel and eventually come after us, the American people, was a non-starter for Israel and America, of course.
You know more than I do, but my sources were very clear. The enrichment level was too great. The breakout time was less than a month. They would have the 15 nuclear weapons. The Israelis are not lying about it. And I have to believe those people that believe in a caliphate, convert or die, and threaten to wipe Israel and the U.S. off the map, based on also being the #1 state sponsor of terror. If they got the weapon, they'd use it. Am I wrong?
The hardest decision.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely right. I believe this was inevitable, and it was rendered more inevitable today by decisions of the Ayatollah in Iran. Listen, President Trump has been clear for a long time that his red line is that Iran must completely dismantle their nuclear capacity, must disassemble their nuclear centrifuges where they are enriching uranium. And
yeah, 1927 ethos. Did you listen to the entire are you just agreeing with my comment on Netanyahu's speech there? Either way, I 100% agree with you. Israel's going for the gold this time. Yeah, they're going to take out the regime. I 100% agree with you, man. I would not buy into the spiking oil price. We do not need Iran's oil. I agree with that 1927 ethos. It's like Iran. Well, here's the deal, 1927 ethos. Like, if Iran's oil gets like truly shut off or blown up or something, then like Iran's oil right now is going to Russia and China, right? So like that, all that means is that Russia and China are then going to want to try to buy more oil from everywhere else, which is going to raise the price of oil. That's the real issue, I think.
And President Trump made clear they could either do so peacefully through diplomacy, or those centrifuges would be dismantled kinetically through military conflict. We're seeing the latter tonight. And this morning, Iran publicly stated no, they would not dismantle their centrifuges, and in fact they said they would build more, they would enrich more. The Ayatollah made the decision, we are going to plunge headfirst towards getting a nuclear weapon, and basically Iran gave the middle finger to President Trump, and Iran told Israel, you better strike us now, because if you don't do it soon, we will have a nuclear weapon. And when we have a nuclear weapon, this is a theocratic zealot who chants death to America and death to Israel. And they are building a nuclear weapon because they intend to be able to detonate a nuclear weapon in the skies of Tel Aviv or New York or Los Angeles. And so Israel is acting to defend themselves. And Sean, tonight, we should
Senator,
stand unequivocally with the state of Israel.
Senator, if I may interrupt you and then pick up your thought, Israeli news is reporting that Iran's military chief of staff has been taken out. Now, we can't confirm that, but Israeli news is reporting that at this hour.
Look, Israel has an incredibly formidable military. They are surrounded by nations that would drive them into the sea and exterminate them. Iran's objective, the Ayatollah tells you what he wants to do when he leads mobs in chanting death to Israel and death to America. He means it. The head of Iran's nuclear program, who has since gone to meet his maker, many say at the hands of the Mossad, he had written into his last will and testament that he wanted written on his tombstone, here lies a man who seeks to annihilate Israel. That's the level of hate. And I will say tonight, I want to say to every one of your viewers, please, if you're a person of faith, pray for Israel, pray for Jerusalem tonight. And let me say also, pray for U.S. servicemen and women in the Middle East, in harm's way. And I want to give a message to the Ayatollah right now. If you strike at America, if you attack our military bases, if you kill one single American serviceman or woman, I have every confidence that President Trump will respond with overwhelming force. That's the message the Ayatollah needs to understand right now, tonight.
Boom,
Do not,
baby, boom. Can you imagine if Iran actually miscalculated and attacked America and Donald Trump ordered all of American military forces and power to destroy Iran? That would be like unbelievable. That would be the most shocking thing since 9/11, hands down.
attack our American military men and women.
If they are that foolish, they will pay the price. They are messing with the wrong guy. That much I can tell you. Prime Minister Netanyahu just spoke for about a minute. Let's get his comments. Let's get your reaction on the other side. Let's play it.
Moments ago.
Okay, no. He spoke for a lot longer than just a minute. See, what I don't like, dude, is when you actually watch these live streams and this other stuff, like, they don't play Netanyahu's full 7-minute, 8-minute speech.
Be decapitated unless.
Let's check in on Al Jazeera Live.
Sometime, certainly in the past 48 hours, the talk of an imminent attack was the dominant news item on the Israeli news outlets. Everybody was talking about it, talking about the measures that Israel is taking, about the different maneuvers, about a call-up on Sunday for Israeli military and for the Israeli cabinet. And now we're hearing, according to military sources, that a lot of what was leaked was meant to distract and to almost create an illusion that maybe an attack was imminent, but maybe it wouldn't be in the coming few days.
Yeah, they totally, dude, they totally tricked everybody on the timing. That's what's so great about this, is Israel tricked everybody on the timing. Everybody knew that Israel was going to attack. It was just the timing that was questionable, and they shocked and surprised everybody on the timing. They're geniuses. They're geniuses. Prola says, when it comes to some serious things like war, I feel Trump is a softie. No one says that about Benjamin, though. I agree, Prola. I agree with that. That's pretty well stated. Yeah, they did it because they knew that it would have been leaked by anti-Israel people in the U.S. government. Right. Right, guess. Right. Wow. Dude, I wonder if there's radiation. Wall Street Journal hasn't had a live update in 8 minutes. Okay, now we're on the Haaretz. Oh man, dude, I'm willing to pay for like, I'm tempted to like pay for Haaretz too to get their live updates. Let's see if Times of Israel has a live updated. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. The Times of Israel is live blogging Thursday through Friday's events as they happen. Okay, here we go. 4 minutes ago. Here we go, guys. Now, this is the Times of Israel live blog. This is how you do it, dude. This is how you guys do it. This is how it's done. This is how I do it. This is how I like to do it. You know, go to things like this. Get multiple live streams up. Keep popping in on these live streams. See what's going on the live streams, you know. Turn the audio on these live streams when appropriate, you know. Like, otherwise... Whoa! Oh, Reuters. Maybe Reuters might not be a bad. Does Reuters have a live blog going? Iran plans to give a harsh response after Israel strikes Iran. Airlines divert flights. Airspace closed. Trump administration seeks to distance U.S. from Israel strikes on Iran. Stocks tumble. Oil soars. Oil jumps more than 7%. Analyst reaction, stock sell-off. Democratic U.S. Senator Padilla forced to ground, handcuffed by federal agents. Okay. Israel's Wing of Zion official state plane takes off from Ben Gurion Airport. What, dude? Israel's Wing of Zion official state plane has taken flight from Ben Gurion Airport a short while ago. According to flight tracking sites, no further details are available. Prior to Iran's April 13th missile and drone attack, Wing of Zion was flown out from Nevatim Air Base, which was later targeted. Wing of Zion. Let's look that up a little bit because I'm not familiar. The Wing of Zion is the principal government transport aircraft of the State of Israel tasked with transporting the President and Prime Minister overseas during international visits. The aircraft is a Boeing 767 wide-body twin-jet airliner belonging to the Israeli Air Force. Oh, so the obviously okay. So the obvious implication is like the obvious implication here is like okay, is the prime minister or the president on the airplane, right? But apparently it just took off from Israeli airbase. So 8 minutes ago, Israeli airstrikes targeted 3 military sites in Iran's northwest. Israeli airstrikes targeted 3 military sites in Iran's northwest. 3 military sites in the East Azerbaijan province were attacked by the Zionist regime, the channel reports, quoting the province's crisis management department. Israel has so far carried out 5 waves of strikes in Iran. The Israeli Air Force has so far carried out 5 waves of strikes in Iran. Hundreds of strikes have been carried out in total. The IDF said earlier striking Iranian nuke sites, military sites, and top military nuke officials. Wow, dude. The crazy thing is they took out the officials. They took out the military leaders. They took out the scientists. Like, it's freaking all out war, man. This is nuts.
You know, it's also Israel in many ways. I think you can.
Oh, question though: Can the deeply hidden enrichment and weapon building sites be taken out by Israel without U.S. bunker busters? That's the open question everybody keeps talking about. Yeah.
Argue, Senator, is doing the world a favor, and if you go back to the 80s and they took out the Iraqi nuclear sites, it almost went undetected. You might recall that the Syrian nuclear program was in play, and they were able to fly under the radar, take out those sites. Very few people even noticed or paid attention. And I know there's been a lot of back and forth because this is Iran and what Iran is going to do. There's one thing that I would argue. This is happening because our former president, that would be Joe Biden, he literally turned a blind eye towards the sanctions that were bankrupting this country.
Dude, look at this. Look at this tweet. Oh my gosh, coming soon. What is this? X right now. OSINT Defender says the Atomic Energy Organization confirms that the Natanz nuclear facility in central Iran has suffered major damage as a result of missile strikes by Israel. No way. Did Trump already get a stay too? Wow. Swalwell provided a Chinese sky classified information. Swalwell's the one. Okay. Breaking: Iran will declare war on Israel and retaliate soon, per CNN. I guess I could go to Fox News and CNN's website to get to their see if they get or their live updates. Here we go, live updates. Well, let's just check in on some of these live streams real quick first.
I don't really see planes coming in there, but maybe they just want to get them out of there while they can. That one.
Well, they're taking
take off too. That one just took off too.
They're taking off a bunch of airplanes probably.
Oops, sorry. Max Power thinks Iran will respond, but not immediately.
After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state vowed never again. Well, never again is now. Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. When enemies vow to destroy...
What's this doing? Oh, nothing on live now from Fox? Wait, what? What?
This fall, you've been looking at a live image, Jerusalem, on what's now Friday morning. Iran's supreme leader has vowed to retaliate for Israel's attack. By the way, it's about 6:48 in the morning, Israel Standard Time. We've been talking about the developing situation with our experts and analysts. Joining us now is Michael Makovsky. He's the CEO and founder of Jinsa. Michael, thanks for coming on. A lot to discuss. Still a lot to learn tonight. Your initial reaction, you and I were talking a little bit offline, and you said more than likely for you, it is going to be a long night because of the developing situation there. Your initial reaction to what we're seeing play out in Tehran and more.
Okay, I think, first of all, thank you very much, Austin, for having me. First of all, I think the one initial headliner is this has been a very aggressive Israeli action, widespread, that clearly took the Iranians by surprise because the Israelis have managed, it seems like, to kill a lot of their senior leadership, nuclear scientists, the head of Revolutionary Guard leaders, defense military leaders. They've also now, I think, also hitting nuclear facilities. They're doing this in waves. And I think so far it's been very successful and aggressive.
We expect at this point, you see the banner on your screen, an Israeli official has told Fox that we are just getting started. Michael, if Israel has already took a big swing, what more could they possibly target? And by the way, before you answer that, let me just make clear what we're seeing on our screen. It's not live. These are videos we saw when the attack happened. So this is some of the initial video that was coming out of the region of the blasts themselves. What more can happen from the IDF's point of view, Michael?
I think the Israelis have made clear, Prime Minister Netanyahu has made clear that they have a lot to do. I think there are a few objectives here. I think in obviously the immediate issue was to hit the nuclear facilities. That's the most vital thing because the Iranian nuclear program has advanced so far that they feel that if they don't hit it very soon, that it will be too late. And it's not just the nuclear facilities; it's also ballistic missiles capability. As Netanyahu pointed out, they plan to develop.
All right, let me read chat, guys. Sorry, I'm behind on chat. Maybe they were going to give in bunker busters and we're sitting on them for this moment. You never know, guess. That's the thing, right? We don't know. That is very possible, guess. Good point. It's very possible they could have had bunker busters. Very possible. Dirty Harry with missiles, feel lucky punk. I don't follow that one. So they must have had intel that they were either successful for enrichment and had to act. Well, dude, you know what? The guy on Fox, this channel earlier, really made some good points about how, like, the Israelis said that, like, the Iranians didn't even defend. The Iranians didn't even defend themselves, really. Like, Israel didn't get any anti-air strikes against its aircraft, that type of thing. Like, it's kind of crazy.
With Iran. And that's been out there, and that's been outstanding. And I think
actually, I like this.
Let's speak to Alan Fisher.
Oh, shoot,
they just live from Washington.
I don't like this. I like that other chick. Oh, we got more update. We got Wall Street Journal update. Senator Murphy says Israeli attack on Iran risks regional war. Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat, Connecticut, said Israel's attack on Iran was intended to thwart the Trump administration's negotiations with Iran and risk a regional war. Iran would not be this close to possessing a nuke if Trump and Netanyahu had not forced America out of the nuke agreement with Iran that had brought Europe, Russia, and China together behind the United States to successfully contain Iran's nuclear ambitions. No, dude. No. False. Lies. Lies from the Murphy Democrat. This is a disaster of Trump and Netanyahu's own making, and now the region risks spiraling toward a new deadly conflict. Murphy said America has no obligation to follow Israel into war. Of course, we don't have an obligation to. Presuming, I guess, we don't have a treaty or whatever, but...
Negotiations ongoing with Iran, and we know that there were further talks planned in Muscat
on Sunday. That would certainly explain some of the language in Marco Rubio's statement. He, of course, is the Secretary of State, saying that they were informed that Israel was carrying out unilateral action and that they did so because of their own self-defense. And so it's clear that there is some concern among the US administration that they might get dragged into a wider conflict here, something that they have been keen to avoid. Donald Trump, in fact, has, over the last couple of months, dispensed...
Holy cow! Behold, it's Florida. Are you serious? Behold, it's Florida? Are you like an American and you're actually traveling in the Middle East right now and you're on my Twitch live stream? Are you serious, bro?
Profile of them was Mike Waltz, who, of course, was the national security advisor. He's been replaced by Marco Rubio.
Yeah, that's true. 1927 ethos. Yeah, driving oil prices way down literally hurts like American oil companies. True.
In Washington, Donald Trump had said that he thought that some sort of military action was likely but not imminent. That was just several hours ago, even though the United States had taken the action of partially evacuating its embassy in Baghdad, and saying that dependents of other embassy staff in other places across the Middle East could move out for a temporary time if they felt that was necessary. So it'll be interesting to see when we actually hear from Donald Trump on Friday, and if he's got anything to say about this Wall Street Journal report, which suggests that he was urging the Israelis not to go ahead with this attack until at least the negotiations had played themselves out.
Okay, Alan, thank you. Dorsa Jabari is still with us here in the studio.
Fear, understandably. I think this is a threat that was looming over the nation for 47 years now, since the revolution of 1979. So the Israeli threat has always been there, but nobody actually believed they would carry it out. Nobody believed Israel would attack Iran. And at the scale that we've seen, last year we saw exchanges for the first time, and that was quite significant. And it broke this psychological barrier that people had in terms of Iran attacking Israel or Israel attacking Iran. This is much different today. This is being seen as a declaration of war. High-ranking officials, and we're now hearing also from Fars News Agency that the chief of staff of the Joint Armed Forces of the country. So this attack is very different, and I think reaction will be very different from the public as well. There's going to be a lot of fear. We just heard from the Ministry of Interior in Iran. They've issued a statement urging people to remain calm, to only get information from reliable sources, in order to try and create an environment that doesn't stoke fear and panic. I think that's going to be very important in the next few hours inside the country for officials to maintain a sense of calm and peace. But Iranians clearly are going to be very shaken up. Scenes like this we haven't seen inside the capital, Tehran, since the end of the Iran-Iraq War in 1988. And that was an eight-year war that saw the capital, among other cities, come under constant attack. I remember being there during that time, and it was very clear. These images are reminiscent of that time. But of course, things are very different now and much more dangerous. And I think Ali Khamenei is now in a position that Khomeini was at that time. Khomeini said famously that he had to drink from the poisoned chalice to accept a ceasefire to end that war in 1988. Ali Khamenei now has to make some very tough decisions because according to the reasons behind what we're seeing now is the country's nuclear program, which has been in place before the revolution. But clearly, Iran is paying a very heavy price for it. And what has happened in the past is any kind of pressure on Iran has accelerated the nuclear program. It hasn't gone the other way. And this is likely going to also...
Most certainly. Israel had already extensive plans for what the scenario of Iranian retaliation to an Israeli strike would be. This includes what would happen to education, to transportation, to the health sector. All of those plans are now being implemented. A state of emergency has been declared. The Israeli Prime Minister in the past few minutes saying that the Israelis may be very...
Oh man! Oh, we got another Wall Street Journal update, guys. If anybody's still hanging with me, thank you guys for still hanging with me. Any prime forgetters in chat? Anybody got a primer? Anybody got a primer sub in chat? Jordan won't allow airspace to be used. Amid Israel's attack on Iran, Jordan won't allow its airspace to be violated. The kingdom has not and will not allow its airspace to be violated, and it will not be a battleground for any conflict from any party. Oman, Israel responsible for attack and repercussions. Oman said it condemned Israel's attack on Iran and that it holds responsible for any escalation in the region. It said the attack was on sovereign facility and caused civilian casualties. Iranian state TV says airstrikes hit nuclear program-related sites in Natanz and Kandab. Iranian state TV says Israel strikes hit nuke program sites in Natanz and Kandab. Natanz is one of the two main uranium enrichment sites in Iran. Wow, dude. Holy cow, man. Iran's military chief Bagheri killed. The chief of Iran's military, Mohammad Bagheri, was killed in an Israeli strike. Holy cow, dude. IDF, Iran has been secretly advancing plan for all parts of the development of a nuclear weapon. Iran has been secretly advancing a plan for the technological advancement of all parts of the development of a nuclear weapon. In recent months, accumulated intel information has provided evidence that the Iranian regime is approaching the point of no return. The convergence of the Iranian regime's efforts to produce thousands of kilograms of enriched uranium alongside decentralized and fortified enrichment compounds and underground facilities enables the Iranian regime to enrich uranium to military-grade levels, enabling the regime to obtain a nuclear weapon within a short period of time. It says that in the framework of this plan, senior nuclear scientists in Iran have been working to secretly develop all components needed for developing a nuke. In recent months, the program has accelerated significantly, bringing the region significantly closer to obtaining a nuke. This is clear evidence that the Iranian regime is operating to obtain a nuke. The state of Israel has been left with no choice. The IDF has the obligation to act in defense of the civilians of Israel and will continue to do so. Wow. Iran's Khamenei. Israel will face a bitter and painful fate for the strikes 25 minutes ago. Confirms top military officials and scientists had been killed in the strikes that targeted nuke and military sites. Israel opened its wicked and blood-stained hand to a crime in our beloved country, revealing its malicious nature more than ever by striking residential centers. With this crime, the Zionist regime has set itself for a bitter and painful fate, and it will definitely receive it. NYPD steps up protection of Jewish-Israeli sites after Iran strikes. Good. Israel and the U.S. will pay a heavy price, Iran says. Israel and U.S. Wow, that's not good, man. Israeli strikes on Iran enabled by breakthrough intelligence, says senior IDF official. Israeli strikes on Iranian nuke sites, military sites, and top military and nuke officials were enabled by breakthrough intelligence obtained by the Military Intelligence Directorate in the past year. The official says dedicated units were established in the Israeli Air Force and Intelligence Directorate in the past year, focused on Iran and preparations for a large-scale strike. Following Israel's strike on Iran in October, the Intelligence Directorate carried out an unprecedented concentration of efforts to build an opening blow against senior Iranian military officials and nuclear scientists. Holy cow, dude. I still don't think we know the full extent. Like, this is mind-boggling. Like, they literally killed all of the top Iranian leaders, except for Khamenei. So that kind of sends a message, right? It's like, hey, Khamenei, we let you live this time. You have to assume if they could kill everybody, they could kill Khamenei, right? Why didn't they kill Khamenei? That's an open question. Why didn't they kill Khamenei? I mean, I think it's because there's the potential for a deal, right? Let's refresh this. Let's refresh this page. Two minutes ago, Netanyahu, Israel's surprise opening strike Iran was very successful. Israel's surprise opening strike on Iran was very successful, says Prime Minister Netanyahu. We struck the senior command. We struck senior scientists at advanced development of nukes. We struck nuke installations. He said in a video statement, we are racking up achievements. I know, and you know there are no easy wars. Israelis may well have to spend far longer periods in shelters than we were accustomed to until now. Whoa, dude! I want to see that. I wonder if. Whoop. Huh, that's kind of crazy. Netanyahu filtered this for the last hour. Huh. That's weird. So the Times of Israel is reporting on like a new video statement from Netanyahu, but I can't find it on YouTube. That's kind of weird.
These strikes, most important of which I can refer to Hossein Salami, who is the chief commander of IRGC, as well as now reports coming about the assassination of Mohammad Bagheri, who is the chief of staff for Iran's armed forces, alongside with other military top officials that are reported to be either assassinated or injured. And we know that there are several locations across the city. The initial report said it was 6, let's say, scenes, but now we know that there is a possibility for other scenes.
That's so true. That's so true, guest. It's like I go live, and suddenly the Ninth Circuit overrules the judge in California, and Israel has the most successful attack of all time. Let's go.
IRGC reportedly targeted. And also, if we go beyond the capital, Tehran, we have reports about the sounds of massive explosions being heard from different cities across the country, most important of which I can refer to Natanz, a town which hosts one of the most important nuclear enrichment facilities of the country. And of course, this is a critically important, unprecedented development. Nothing similar has been seen over the past few years and decades when it comes to already escalated situation between Iran and Israel. And obviously, there is going to be consequence down the road. The Iranian Supreme Leader, as you mentioned, came out
Scooby, what's up, Scooby?
Saying that Israelis are going to face tough punishment, and the quote-unquote strong hands of Iran's armed forces are going to face them with bitter destiny. That's what we heard from the Iranian Supreme Leader, but other Iranian officials are coming out with very strong statements. And that happens within the context of adoption of a resolution by the Board of Governors of IAEA. While this was a very negative step from Iranian perspective, there was still a very slight amount of hope that this entire nuclear issue and the challenges that some of Western countries are raising against Iran's program could be settled down via diplomatic trajectory. But now the situation, I would say, is 100% different. If that resolution was a sort of injury to diplomatic affairs of the country, now this is, as what I can say, a headshot to Iran's diplomatic affairs when it comes to engagement with the United States and other Western countries. Obviously, there is going to be a possibility of further and further escalation as Iran is saying that it's going to retaliate. And let's keep in mind that compared to the previous strike that you mentioned back in October, the scale is unbelievably extensive. The targets are much more sensitive, and we are anticipating a strong retaliation from the Iranian side. But still, we have to keep waiting to see what's going to take place. And this is a very important moment that we are experiencing right now, with consequences not only for Iran, but also most probably for the entire region.
Tawhid, this is unprecedented, as you say, and we can see some of the damage caused by one of those strikes behind you there. What is the feeling on the ground there among the population over these attacks?
Yes, I had a chance to talk to people. A lot of them were here, and they were very sad. They're very angry. Their expectation was that if such a strike happens, it would be military targets to be targeted, to be hit. But the reality on the ground and the different footages are coming out, indicating the very fact that it is not limited to military targets. It goes very much beyond that. It targets civilians. I saw a lady weeping, crying badly, saying that one of the family members of hers was in this building that you can see behind me. And this building is for university professors. And Dr. Tehranchi was one of the professors there. Their other might be or might not be related to Iran's nuclear program. They are civilians. Footages came out from one of the scenes from which we saw bodies of women and children coming out of the scene, which means that it is targeting civilian targets. And that is something that has created a lot of anger among people if we speak to them. And we see it not only among the citizens in Tehran, but also in social media. We see a lot of negative feedback. And now there was a sort of anti-Israeli sentiment among some of the people here because of this long history of assassinations and cyber attacks, etc., etc., a lot of obnoxious behaviors from the Israeli side towards Iran. But right now, this feeling ramps up, and you can clearly see signs of anger, signs of, let's say, sadness, signs of mourning among the Iranians when it comes to this recent developments.
Yes, a lot of anger there, as you say, in this heightened situation. Well, Noor O'Day is back with us now from Oman. Noor, what is the Israeli Prime Minister's justification for this unprecedented attack?
Well, the Israeli Prime Minister claims that this strike was necessary, that Israel was facing a threat. He, of course, paints Iran as the world's most dangerous government, and that Israel could not allow it to obtain the world's most dangerous weapons in reference to nuclear weapons. Of course, we know that Iran does not have nuclear weapons, while Israel does. Nonetheless, the idea that Israel must strike Iran is a point of consensus. So Netanyahu really having no trouble.
No, so I got Papa John's coming now.
Even writing.
This is Wall Street Journal has another update. Probably a couple. Iran blames U.S. for permitting Israel to attack. Iran said it held the U.S. as Israel's top ally responsible for Friday's attacks, which it said could not have been carried out without coordination and authorization from Washington. Secretary of State Rubio said earlier the U.S. hadn't been involved in the strikes and warned Iran not to target U.S. interests or personnel. Energy shares rise after attack on Iran. Energy shares gained ground in Asia after Israel's attack on Iran, in line with the rise in oil prices, while movements in other markets were relatively restrained as investors weighed the fallout. Japan's Nikkei average was down 1.2% in afternoon trading Friday. Other Asian markets are down slightly. The dollar and other safe haven currencies rose. Couple of good updates there. Jordan won't allow airspace to be used.
It would take between 18 months to 2 years. But what they have done recently is not come up with a credible...
Lecture loves pizza. Oh, I love pizza. You know I love pizza. Why the Iron Dome? They're the only ones dumb enough to attack it. Yeah, no kidding. And it's hold on. Behold, it's Florida. Let me see. Did you respond earlier? Let me check your messages here really quick. 3 messages. An attack like that can't happen without U.S. approving it. The U.S. is dragging itself into a useless war. Perfect timing. Yeah. That's exactly what so you're basically behold is Florida. You're pro-Iranian terrorist regime then. So you literally just made the exact same point that the terrorist regime in Tehran made. Dude, when you're in chat typing out points and it just so coincidentally we happened 3 minutes ago, we've got an update and the exact point you're making in chat is the exact point that the terrorist regime in Tehran just made. That's not good.
Possibly with the kind of twin track diplomacy we've seen between the Iranians and the Israelis, although getting bogged down and faltering, being given more time to try and make progress, but also some kind of UN-sponsored diplomacy, such as we might have seen, we did see during the build-up to the Iraq War. I think there was an expectation of a process that would start unfolding, and the clock would start ticking, and we would start seeing a countdown towards possible military action. Well, the Israelis have jumped the gun, and they've clearly decided to do so because they believe that surprise will help them. The time is not on their side, and the longer they let the clock play out, and they've decided to choose this moment to attack Iran. Probably when Iran was not expecting it either, although there have been warnings in the last few days that some kind of military action was imminent. I think, as I say, most observers, particularly in Israel, but probably in Iran as well, had thought that that was a bit of a bluff. And Iranians, sort of Israeli heavies coming on side to try and put pressure on the Iranians in these nuclear talks. And I think, the Israelis have surprised us by making it clear this wasn't a bluff. This was not a negotiating tactic. This was for real, this threat of military action. They're carrying it out now, and they will continue to do so over the coming days. And clearly their intent is to try and totally destroy the nuclear threat they've always believed emanates from the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Dominic, you mentioned the
that they could strike as soon as 2 hours after Israel strikes. Is that characteristic of Iran to strike back so quickly, or might we expect something in due time, in a longer amount of time?
Well, they know that they're going to be facing multiple rounds of Israeli strikes, and they've seen already the early devastation to both their nuclear program and to their leadership assets. And so they may respond quickly instead of continuing to take, quite a beating.
Okay, another update from Wall Street Journal. Dang, dude, Wall Street Journal's live updates are coming in like every minute. Every 2 minutes we're getting live updates from the Wall Street Journal. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says wicked White House supported attack. Wow. Iran's Irgc appeared to hold Washington responsible for the Israeli attack on Iran, which killed its senior commander, Hassan Salami. The Israeli attack was carried out with full knowledge and support of the wicked rulers in the White House. Dude, that's not good that Iran is blaming all of this on the U.S., man. That is not good. I can't remember. Did Reuters have a live update? No, they don't have a... So Reuters doesn't do live blogging, huh? Oh, the Times of Israel was doing a really good live blog. Let's see. Let's check the Times of Israel live blog. This one's really good. 5 minutes ago, Herzog, Israel's Iran strikes to neutralize an immediate existential threat to our people. Israel embarked on an operation to neutralize an immediate and existential threat to our people, says President Isaac Herzog. The Iranian regime at the helm of a global terror empire has continued to radicalize and destabilize the regime with its proxies while working relentlessly to advance its military and nuke capabilities and expand ballistic missile arsenal. Herzog said Iranian leaders have made no secret of their openly repeated intention to annihilate the state of Israel. For years, the regime is prepared to turn that vision into reality. He stresses Israel's inherent right, the solemn duty to defend itself, and will always do so with determination and clarity. U.S. official says Washington still hopes to hold nuke talks with Iran on Sunday. The United States still hopes to hold talks with Sunday with Iran, even after Israel launched a massive wave of strikes against nuke and military targets in the Islamic Republic. Wow. Holy cow. All right, guys, I'm going to get off. I'm tired. Plus, my piece is almost here. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you for being here. Peace.